Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is August the 29th, 2025. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Friday to ya. Hopefully, this energy finds you and catches you in that good Friday mood and that good Friday spirit. Even if you're not listening to this episode on a Friday. My day was pretty good. We got up. I will say a running motif for the day was stomach issues. I just really wasn't feeling that great in that regard, but we managed to make it from, the top of the day to the end of the day, so that's good. But we got to work. It was pretty busy throughout, so that was a bit of a bummer. Usually Fridays are not so busy, but we made do. It was overall, solid day. After work, we went to the gym. Gym was, I don't want to say rough, because it was a nice slow day. There wasn't that many people there. I was able to get on all my machines, so that was good. It's becoming a typical Friday experience since I started trying to push 315 on my bench and whatnot, that I just I can't hit it on Friday. For some reason, despite drinking a Monster, trying to snack a little bit to get some energy up, it just wasn't going. It wasn't moving for starters. So I immediately kind of kicked it back down to 225 just for the bench. And overall, my Smith machine exercises were fine outside of that. But it definitely, it hit me mentally. It was a bit of a bummer. But, hopefully we'll make it move. We'll make something happen tomorrow. That's the hope. Knock on some wood. But, outside of that, I just noticed that, when I was done with the Smith machine and the free weights, I already felt like I wanted to go home. I was like, I'm so tired. I just want to go home and take a nap. I have no energy. And I was like, Isaiah, we're not doing that. We're just not. That's not the way this works, and you know it. So, despite the fact that I was running a little bit behind on my time, I guess just because, just the nature of my heavy set days, I usually wind up, taking a little bit more time in the gym. It really wasn't that much longer. I think it was maybe 15 minutes or so. But you really feel it. I don't know. It was just one of those things where I was just dragging just so hard. Even up into the cardio, I was just like, man, I don't want to do this. And usually that's where I rally, and I did, which was good. By the time I got done with my 15 minutes on the Stairmaster, I was like, okay, I think we're fine. We can keep going. It's gonna be okay. But man, it really whipped me up. I was tired. But we made it home after that, and now we're here. We're recording. We're ready to yap. So I'm overall happy with that. I'm hoping that my stomach is just better tomorrow. It's crazy that I feel like I've had more stomach problems this past week, which has been a little bit of an annoyance. But they do come up. It does happen, So what can you do? Anyway, let's go ahead and do our startup, and we'll go ahead and get into some news. Ooh. All right. Our first story comes from Al Jazeera. Thai court removes Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra from office. Thailand's constitutional court has removed. Excuse me. Let me run it back. Thailand's constitutional court has removed suspended Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra from office after finding her guilty of ethical misconduct over a controversial phone call with Cambodia's former leader Hun Sen. The ruling on Friday makes Paetongtarn the first, or I'm sorry, not the first, the fifth prime minister to be stripped of office by Thai judges since 2008, and plunges the kingdom into political uncertainty and potentially a snap election. The nine judge court, seen as tools of Thailand's royalist military establishment, ruled that the 39-year-old politician had seriously violated the ethical standards required of a prime minister when she spoke to Hun Sen during an escalating border conflict between the two countries. In a leaked conversation, Paetongtarn was heard pandering to Hun Sen and calling him uncle while criticizing a senior Thai army commander as an opponent. The border dispute later spiraled into armed clashes that left dozens dead and tens of thousands displaced on both sides. The court, which had previously suspended Paetongtarn's pending trial, said the politician had put her personal interests over those of the nation during her conversation with Hun Sen, fueling a loss of public trust and confidence in her leadership. Therefore, the court, by a majority vote of 6-3, rules that Paetongtarn's ministership has individually terminated, effective immediately, it said. Speaking to reporters after the verdict, Paetongtarn insisted that she had tried to safeguard the country's interests and called for political unity. My intentions were for the benefit of the country, not for political gain, but for the lives of the people, including civilians and soldiers, she said. In a time like this, everyone must come together to contribute to our nation's stability. Now, I was kind of surprised by this just because, I mean, yes, like to a certain extent, I expected some kind of ruling here that was going to be negative for Paetongtarn. But to get fully sacked for having a conversation that was just a little bit too cozy with the opposition, it does seem crazy to me from the outside looking in. But with the the history of Thailand, it does line up. It does make sense in terms of like how the court likes to control things. And with the Pheu Thai party, essentially they're like, yeah, we will tolerate you because you're not the Move Forward party, the party that we went out of our way to more or less eliminate politically. But that being said, we don't want you guys really in power. Like the guy before you, we took out, for more or less like very similar kind of situation, if I'm not mistaken. And, this is not new to us. This is true for us. And essentially it seems like they're making it a situation where it's like, look, you can still be a political player here. You can still be on top, but not really. You have to now start taking a back seat to a more conservative coalition. So, I mean, and I want to say, oh, okay, that's unfortunate, but I mean, the Pheu Thai party is pro-democracy. Like it's kind of like a liberal, maybe at best party. The Move Forward party was definitely something I do recall covering, like rooting for them and then seeing them make it happen just for it to be snuffed out because more or less this court, this military court situation just gets to control everything kind of in front of the scenes and behind the scenes. So yeah, that was a bit unfortunate. But kind of sticking to the here and now, with Paetongtarn, like I said, I was surprised, but I guess I shouldn't have been, because once again, this just kind of adds up with how politics kind of get done. It's just going to be a question of who is going to be, the next person in charge, really. I kind of wanted to scroll down to that, see if I can find it. Pheu Thai has one more eligible candidate, 77-year-old Chaikasem Nitasiri, a Thaksin loyalist and former justice minister. So essentially, that's like their only guy that they have left. That's kind of going to toe the party line, keep things up. But other candidates come from the conservative parties, including Paetongtarn Virkul of the Bhum Jatai party and Prayuth Chan-ocha, formerly of the United Thai Nation, or the UTN party, who led the 2014 coup and then ruled Thailand for 9 years. Prayuth, well, I'm totally fucking these up. Prayuth is currently a member of the Privy Council, and he would need to step down to return to politics. So that's a bit of the political lay in the land in Thailand. We'll see what comes of that in the future. But we're going to go ahead and move along to the Trumpverse. We got to talk about some Trump movements, some Trump actions from the Associated Press. Trump blocks $4.9 billion in foreign aid Congress okayed using maneuver last seen nearly 50 years ago. President Donald Trump has told House Speaker Mike Johnson that he won't be spending $4.9 billion in congressionally approved foreign aid, effectively cutting the budget without going through the legislative branch. Trump, who sent a letter to Johnson on Thursday, is using what's known as a pocket rescission. Excuse me. When a president submits a request to Congress to not spend approved funds toward the end of the fiscal year. So Congress cannot act on the request in a 45-day time frame, and the money goes unspent as a result. It's the first time in nearly 50 years a president has used one. The fiscal year draws to a close at the end of September. So this is very politically savvy by Trump and the administration here in terms of getting what they want done and not having to even have to talk to Congress about it. They just send him a letter saying, hey, I want this done. It's going to get done. Boom. And that's it. And not to mention, this is maybe the first time we've seen this in 50 years, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the last time. So that's very important to note. Also, the main thing that this does is it completely puts a nail in the coffin of USAID, USAID. That was already something that was going to be slow walked down. You're already seeing the ramifications in foreign countries, with people saying, hey, I was getting HIV, AIDS medication, and now that overnight that's done. And the people whose whole jobs, that was a career, was, giving out this aid, distributing this stuff, is that they're completely out of work. Like, once again, they woke up overnight, their job was done. They were terminated pretty much. Which is crazy, and that's fucked up. But that is the power that this administration has to wield. And I mean, to me, this completely was like, I didn't know this was a thing until today. And they have the name of what it's called. Let's see here. I'm just going to skip to that. The 1974 Impoundment Control Act. It was last used by Jimmy Carter. What was essentially the last pocket rescission occurred in 1977 by Democratic then President Jimmy Carter. And the Trump administration argues it's a legally permissible tool despite some murkiness, as Carter had initially proposed the clawback well ahead of the 45-day deadline. So he's just kind of whipping it out. Once again, we don't know over the next 4 years how often Trump's going to try to pull a move like this just to supersede Congress. It might remain to be seen. And also, too, yet again, I don't know why I feel compelled to mention this. This is not something he had to do. He was going to get his way on this. Like, there was nothing that really Congress could do to buck what was already happening. But because he wanted to, I think, maybe try this out, just show a force, he just did it. And, there's nothing that can be done about it. Essentially, Chuck Schumer's like, well, then the Republicans are just going to go it alone without us. Like, okay, dude, sit the fuck down, Charles. Like, no one gives a shit. Boo, shut up. Useless ass motherfucker. But, it is really strange that presidents just have this kind of power. The executive branch has this kind of power. These are things that I feel like conservative talking heads, legal motherfuckers have been maybe bandying about for a long time. And I think they finally, with this administration, with this Trump 2.0 administration, really get to flex their wings. They really get to try all the fucking crazy shit that they were like, yeah, this is like a theory or an idea, but we get to actually put rubber to road and see if it works. See who can stop us if they even try. So, I think on this, you're going to hear murmurs of like, is this even legal? Are you allowed to do this? But most likely they're going to say, well, yeah, and there's not much we can fucking do. That being said, though, kind of a bit of side news as we segue. The federal appeals court has ruled that most of his tariffs are illegal. So, who knows if that is going to have any impact. I'm really just kind of pulling that from the ether. That was like a headline I read. And I'm not surprised to hear. But once again, what difference does it make if he just goes, okay, yeah, but what are you guys going to do about it? Try to jam me up in court about it? Well, these tariffs are still happening. They're still effective, like in terms of they're on and popping. I wouldn't say effective as in good or good for, anybody or everyone. No, I would boo that. But anyway, speaking of more Trump ramifications, because I feel like I've yapped about this enough. From CNN, end of an era. Billions of packages of cheap goods shipped to the U.S. are now subject to steep tariffs. So there you go. A little bit of a segue into what we're talking about. A big change to all the cheap goods, I put that in quotations, Americans ordered just went into effect. For nearly a century, low-value packages of goods from abroad have entered the United States duty-free thanks to what's known as the de minimis rule, which as of 2015 has applied to packages worth less than $800. The loophole has reshaped the way countless Americans shop, enabling many small businesses globally to sell goods to U.S. consumers with relative ease, and allowing, in particular, low-cost Chinese e-commerce sites like Shein, Temu, and AliExpress to sell everything from clothing to furniture to electronics directly to American shoppers, escaping many duties in place for packages exceeding the $800 threshold. But those days are over. As 1 minute past midnight Eastern Time, all imported goods, regardless of their value, are now subject to 10% to 50% tariff rates, depending on their country of origin. In certain cases, they could face a flat fee of $80 to $200, but only for the next 6 months. I actually want to read this part too. Ahead of the expiration of the de minimis rule, a slew of delivery services across Europe, as well as Japan, Australia, Taiwan, and Mexico, suspended deliveries to the United States, citing logistical compliance challenges. International shipper UPS, meanwhile, said in a statement to CNN Thursday, "We stand ready for the new changes and do not anticipate any backlogs or delays." So that is kind of what I had heard throughout the week, that this was like a big rumbling thing, that we're already seeing the gears jammed up over this shit. People were kind of hoping that maybe Trump might put a pause to this, or like we kind of come to some kind of maybe renegotiation about this and just maybe change the number as opposed to just completely get rid of it. That didn't come to pass. And it turns out that we are going to be living in this new reality. So, I mean, we will definitely see how it goes. I do want to talk a little bit more about this, though. Small businesses, I think, in the States, seemingly, at least from this article, are saying, like, okay, well, this is actually going to be a good thing. This actually levels the playing field in a way. So, like, it makes the competition easier for us to kind of, continue to operate, do our thing, and we don't have to, like, worry about Shein having this big advantage of just being able to ship to us and just have this loophole. But I would argue that you also have to deal with the tariffs like everybody else, and that's not good for your fucking business model. And I would add that this doesn't level it, I feel like, in the way that you're trying to hope and think that you're now like, oh, okay, you're on par with a Shein or whatever. And it doesn't matter whether you are, like whether you're the small, medium business owner guy, like you're still getting dwarfed by an Amazon or a Walmart. There's always a bigger fish. So I guess you're just saying for a couple of these foreign companies in your head, you're now thinking you might have a shot. Spoiler alert, you probably fucking don't. You're probably getting fucked still. But I mean, I guess this makes you feel good. I guess you can find some solace in this because it might have been a gripe that you had, that you just couldn't compete with a Temu. You couldn't compete with an Alibaba. But I mean, I just don't think you are now. I don't think your odds have really gotten better here. I think in the wash over time that this is going to show that you just got sunk by the higher tariffs and shit of that nature. And maybe there could have been better ways to help your business as opposed to this. But we'll see. I mean, this is definitely some shit obviously above my fucking pay grade. I'm no economist. Maybe this is going to be something that for the American small businessman, maybe this will be a good thing over time. I don't fucking know. But I would regard, like, let's just, like, take America out of this shit. I know that might be hard for me and my POV, but, like, globally, this is still fucking bad because, at the end of the day, there's a lot of fucking trade happening between the US and the world, vice versa. So the fact that, like, we had this thing since 2015, that was a good thing going, it seemed. Now we're like, nah, fucking kick that shit aside. Now you guys got to pay more for all these little fucking things. So, I hope that things continue to, not, go crazy. I don't know. I'm very worried. I'm very apprehensive. Like I said, I'm already paying too much for fucking shit anyway. I don't want to wind up paying more. Because at the end of the day, the thing that I always got to keep hammering home is that the customer, the consumer, you and me, we're all going to wind up paying more for this fucking shit one way or another. And I hate that. I fucking hate that. And I feel like you should too. I don't get who likes that. Who's stoked about that. That's like saying you fucking hate Fridays. It's just weird. That's a weird thing, bro. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how to square that shit. Anyway, I have one more story that I wanted to cover. This was maybe for me the story of the day. I don't know why. It had grift. It has Eric Adams. It's in New York. Or New York, New York. Anyway, I just was like, yeah, this is me. This is all me. I'm on it. So yeah, and a bag of chips. You know I'm in. Anyway, let's go ahead and take our last break and we'll close it out. I got 100 guns, 100 clips. Baby, I'm from New York, New York. I do not know why that song. I mean, obviously because we're talking about New York, but that's just like that came out of my brain. Fucking Ja Rule banger, and there's other artists on there. But anyway, oh boy. Bit of side news that I am seeing on my ticker that I probably wouldn't have mentioned anyway. Um, I think we've lightly mentioned that Trump has pulled and yanked security details, like Secret Service details, from known opposition enemies. Since he's come back into power. The biggest name, well, I mean, I guess before today was like Hunter Biden and the Biden family and stuff. He was like definitely like stripping them of Secret Service details. Um, but the latest is now Kamala Harris. So, and before her book deal, no less, or a book tour. Oh my gosh, the scandal. I'm sure, and I thought about this. I'm sure she's just gonna now have to like what pay for her personal security. Oh, boo hoo! But I mean, it's still weird to do that. I think you know what I mean. You didn't see the tit for tat out of Biden, but then again, I don't know, man. Maybe this is a question I'm posing to the audience because I've talked about the whole team sport thing. Like, do y'all think that this shit should devolve even further? I mean, I personally wouldn't want to see that, but it does seem like an inevitable outcome that like whoever comes next, like, is either going to keep the same kind of energy or be worse. And I mean, like, whether you're talking like a conservative or we're talking a fucking, liberal, whatever, like, are we going to be matching freak from here on out, Or do you just see the same return to the blah, blah, we're happy to be here kind of thing from the Democrats? I don't know, I guess we'll all see what happens in 2028 or whatever. But I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud in the future. Anyway, let's close this thing out. From NBC News. Eric Adams' advisor who gave reporter potato chip bags stuffed with cash is suspended from campaign. So yeah, I think I'll just go ahead and run this all the way down. We're going to read it out. I already said from NBC News, didn't I? I'm tripping. A longtime ally, advisor, and fundraiser for New York Mayor Eric Adams was suspended from his re-election effort after she tried to hand a local journalist a cash-stuffed potato chip bag. Winnie Greco was ousted by a local news organization, The City, for trying to give cash surreptitiously tucked inside inside a hers sour cream and onion ripple potato chip bag to one of its City Hall reporters after a campaign event Wednesday afternoon in Harlem. Less than a day after the Greco incident, another former advisor to Adams, Ingrid Lewis Martin, was indicted on new charges in an alleged bribery scheme Thursday morning. According to the City, the reporter Katie Honan initially refused the potato chips, which she believed to be a genuine snack offer, but Greco insisted. Upon discovering the wad of cash, which reportedly included at least one $100 bill and several $20 bills, she immediately contacted the Adams confidant to return the unwanted gift. Now, I'm going to stop right here real quick. I heard rumblings of this story, and like I didn't really latch onto it until I heard there was an episode that came out this week on The Daily, and I was like, okay, like this definitely has some teeth to it. Let me see what's going on here. And they start with the introduction of this story. Katie Honan's coming out of this event, and Greco comes up to her and she goes, "Oh, you look hungry. You want a snack, da da da." And she turns it down. She goes, "I'm okay. I don't need anything." She goes, "No, I got a bag of chips. You should take it." And she's like, "No, I'm good." And they have this back and forth. And eventually it gets to the point where Honan just goes, "Okay, I felt bad. And like she really wanted to give me this bag of chips. So I just took it." Like as if you're just taking the thing, and I've definitely done this since now I'm kind of on like a little bit of my diet shit or whatever. Sometimes people offer you food and you go, "Oh, okay, I don't I've said no," and we keep having this back and forth. I don't want to be rude, and you take it and you hold on to it, and then maybe you like throw it a fucking way later or whatever. And essentially Honan was going to do that, but she looks inside and she sees a red envelope, and inside the red envelope is $300. So like that's a bribe, right? Like that's what it looks like. That's what it feels like. Yeah, okay. But also, what the fuck is $300 gonna fucking do? Like that immediately kind of threw me for a fucking loop. But that being said, I kind of I guess just want to cover it here since I'm mentioning the Daily and I'm talking about it. The Daily takes this story and says we're gonna talk about a history of Chinese collusion in New York, and just like how they affect local elections and how that can like breed up even into like higher echelons of government. And it was very interesting. It was good, but I found it to be a little bit weird, and it didn't click for me until I got to reading the NBC News article that I realized that I'm like, I don't like that the spin or the narrative was, let's take this moment from Greco, like this current day moment, and then like span back through history, talk about all these other fucking issues and stuff, and make you kind of feel like, oh my god, I wonder what China's gonna do next. Like it's not just here; it's like all over America. How about and it goes into a completely different place, in my opinion, than where we could go to here. We have the story of Winnie Greco, who I mean, maybe she is doing this shit for more like bigger reasons and not just for Eric Adams. But regardless, we are talking about Eric Adams, a corrupt ass motherfucker who has already fucking beat charges. Not to mention, you have someone who is an ally, volunteer, whatever. She works like with him, under him, whatever. And another person who is involved in, bribery. And it's like, why aren't we talking about that on the Daily? I kind of found that to be a little bit strange. But I mean, hey, I get it. Once again, I would say, hey, go check it out. It's a good listen. But I dislike the fact that we said, okay, we're gonna make this a China thing, as opposed to like, let's just talk about machine party, fucking corruption right now. That's happening in New York. That's happening here, and you don't have to like spin the web all the way to China. But whatever. Anyway, I guess that's why I'm here. But yeah, she says I can't take it. I need, like, when can I give it back to you? And she texts this to Greco. Greco does not respond. It then escalates to Greco later called the money offer a mistake and apologized profusely when the city contacted her. And the city, they say the city, which is they're referring to the news outlet, the media outlet thing. The city contacted her about why she tried to give a reporter who covers Adams' administration's a cash gift after an event meant to support his reelection. Greco, who is Chinese, said the act was a culture thing, a position her attorney supported in a statement to the city. Like when Cuomo says he's Italian, I'm allowed to touch and kiss these people like I do. That's just what I do. No, man, it seems like you're doing a grift. That's what it seems like you're doing here. We're talking about Greco. I can see how this looks strange, Greco's attorney Stephen Brill told the city, but I assure you that Winnie's intent was purely innocent. In the Chinese culture, money is often given to others in a gesture of friendship and gratitude. Winnie is apologetic and embarrassed by any negative impression or confusion this may have caused. It's like, no, you weren't doing a slick little like fun move here for your friend. This is a reporter. You know why that reporter is there, and you were trying to grease their palms. I mean, I guess slapping allegedly here to get an outcome. So, sorry, I got a little bit of a in my mouth, frog in my throat. Todd Shapiro, a spokesperson for Adams' mayoral campaign, said in a statement that Greco holds no position in this campaign and has been suspended from all volunteer, and they put volunteer in bold, campaign-related activities. We are shocked by these reports, Shapiro said, adding, Mayor Adams had no prior knowledge of this matter. There are several photos. I love this too of just them just like, smiling together, hanging out because like she's on the fucking team. Like you can try to put as much distance as you want on this, but at the end of the day, Eric Adams is just known for corruption. I'm sorry. And I mean, yes, did he beat the case with the power of Donald J. Trump? Yeah, he did. And that's just we all got to live with that now. We're living that reality. He beat the fucking case. But regardless, he is still running, and it's crazy that he's still making moves. His people, his operatives are still making these moves. It's crazy, So I felt very compelled to cover this, and this is technically only part one. Um, I guess we will go ahead and keep going. Greco has been a close ally of Adams for more than a decade, serving as a conduit between the mayor and the city's Asian American communities and a top fundraiser for his campaigns and landing a role in his administration as Director of Asian Affairs. She resigned from that role last year, months after the FBI raided two of her properties as part of an investigation into straw donation scheme in Adams's 2021 campaign. The probe into straw donations was one of several legal scandals surrounding Adams, whom federal prosecutors charged last year with abusing his position as this city's highest elected official, and before that as Brooklyn's borough president, to take bribes and solicit illegal campaign contributions. The Trump Justice Department later dismissed the charges. Let's see here. Yeah, I guess at this point I want to skip ahead, though, to Ingrid Lewis Martin, who's accused of taking $75K in bribes. Which, mind you, once again, to reference the Daily did not talk about that shit at all. Like, I once again heard this on the fringes, and I'm just now reading this in this article, and I'm like, I go to the Daily for a lot of shit, and, I mean, that's my mistake. That's why I always like to try to cast as wide of a net as I can, within the time that I have. To get more news, to get more understanding and insights, to see what the fuck is going on. So it's crazy that like the Daily had such a layup here, and they literally introduced this story to you, and they only tell you the small kernel of it technically. Like yes, the Greco thing is like, damn, that's definitely open, blatant fucking grift, but we're talking $300 in a goddamn chip bag. This though, $75,000. Like, what are we doing? Like, that's a whole bribe we can be talking about. That's a whole bribery situation that is ongoing. And the Daily's like, street smurf, that don't matter. Let's talk about China. which once again, very interesting and worthwhile. They connect a lot of dots. It's interesting, but goddamn, there's shit happening right here, right now. Anyway, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg announced charges against Ingrid Lewis Martin, who was Adams' chief advisor until she abruptly resigned in December. Lewis Martin is accused of accepting more than $75,000 in bribes while she was serving in the mayor's administration from March 2022 to November of 2024. Bragg accused her of overriding the expertise of public servants so she could line her own pockets. Hardworking city employees were undermined. Businesses and developers who followed the law were pushed aside, and the public was victimized by corruption at the highest levels of government, Bragg said in a statement. New Yorkers are fortunate to be served by thousands of hardworking city employees who employ the dignity of public service. Now I have to pause here real quick because this is a thing that I'm like officially noticing now that I'm reading it like out loud. Every time they say city, and I think it's because of the whole like the city thing, or almost every time they say city, they capitalize city, and like it keeps drawing my eye, and I'm like, what the fuck? Why do they do that? And I'm like, hey, you either blame AI or they just didn't proofread this hard enough, and I get it. Look, we're all human beings. Some of us just don't get paid the same. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not getting NBC News money, but hey, we all make mistakes, right? Everybody's human, or AI, something like that. We're a clanka. Anyway. The allegations were outlined in 4 indictments, 2 of which included her son, Glenn D. Martin II. The indictment alleges that her son received $50,000 in exchange for steering city contracts for asylum seeker shelter sites for preferred property owners and to help fast-track permit approvals for a karaoke bar in Queens. The mother-son duo are accused of working with the city's deputy commissioner of real estate services to fast-track development permits and steer city contracts in exchange for home renovations. A separate indictment alleges that Lewis Martin received $2,500 in other personal benefits, including thousands of dollars in catering, to withdraw approval for a street redesign of McGinnis Boulevard in Brooklyn. She is also accused of conspiring to give approval for a renovation in exchange for thousands of dollars of catering for events at City Hall and the mayor's official residence, Gracie Mansion. Department of Investigation Commissioner Jocelyn E. Strauber said Thursday that the department is asking agencies to review permits related to the indictments. Arthur Idalia, an attorney for Lewis Martin, denied allegations of wrongdoing. He accused Bragg of trying to portray a dedicated and honest public servant as a criminal. Her only so-called offense was fulfilling her duty, helping fellow citizens navigate the city's outdated and often overwhelming bureaucracy, Idalia said in a statement. At no point did she receive a single dollar or any personal benefit for her assistance. An attorney representing her son did not immediately respond to a request for comment Thursday. Lewis Martin and her son already face charges of bribery and money laundering that dropped in December, just days after she resigned. Prosecutors allege they received more than $100,000 in cash and other kickbacks from hotel developers to illegally assist them with permits and applications. Both pleaded not guilty. So yeah, that will definitely be, some stuff we'll be coming back to, I hope. I'm sure we'll be getting some updates on, I guess the extension of the Eric Adams grift saga. And I'm sure we'll be coming back just for elections. I mean, shit. Eric Adams is in the running. Cuomo is still in the running. I can't remember dude's first name, but he was he's like one of one of those Guardian vigilante dudes. Siwa, I know that's his last name, but he's technically the Republican on the ballot, and he's running against Mamdani. So we'll see how that goes. We'll definitely be coming back to New York one way or another. But yeah, that is what we'll leave it for today. Let's see. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, follow on Apple Podcasts, whatever platform you like to listen to. Let's see, leave a like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. That's more the YouTube angle, but you can do all the stars, and you can do comments and stuff on, Spotify and Apple. You can comment on the TikTok episode. You can do that. Those are all things you can do. But I really just appreciate you listening. I think it's pretty rad that you do that. So yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.